See these other signs? This is what's the matter. I don't know how you would characterize the gang leaders who got 13-year-old kids hopped up on crack and sent them out onto the street to murder other African-American children. Maybe you thought they were good citizens. She didn't. She didn't. You are defending the people who kill the lives you say matter. Tell the truth.
That was Bill Clinton facing off with Black Lives Matter protesters at a Hillary campaign rally. Hello, I'm Adam Shapiro, and you are in the strategy room. The protesters objecting to a 1994 criminal justice reform bill the former president signed into law that increased prison sentences for a number of gang-related offenses. Black Lives Matter activists claim that bill disproportionately hurt African Americans. Now, joining me to discuss this are Iona College professor Jeanne Zaino and Liz Peek, a columnist for the Fiscal Times. Welcome to you both. Liz, I mean, there's so many things we could talk about in regards to what President Clinton said there. We should remember it was Joe Biden, I believe, who wrote that legislation. Yeah. And it was the Black Caucus at the time, the Black Congressional Caucus, that was pushing for this legislation.
Yeah, but amazing, isn't it?
His fighting back against the protesters, does that win points for Hillary Clinton? Does that hurt Hillary Clinton going forward?
I don't think it helps Hillary Clinton. I mean, surely we've had many states contests now where she has significantly outpolled Bernie Sanders primarily because of the black vote. Certainly in the South, that was an enormous win for her. She needs to keep that black vote. And here's the thing. A lot of the black activists in the Black Lives Matter movement are young enough that they don't remember why that bill was passed. They don't remember that it was the black communities, Bill Clinton is totally right, which were basically annihilating each other because crime was rampant. You know, you can hear James Comey talk about this, Bill Clinton can talk about this. The truth is the black community was the one under pressure, the one that asked law enforcement to step it up and stop the slaughter, and that is what they did.
Jeanne, though, Liz just brought up a very important distinction. I think a lot of people look at this as Black Lives Matter, black-white issue. This is an age issue.
Yeah.
You just pointed out that many of the protesters in Black Lives Matter are too young to remember the 90s. I just interviewed Jeanne Twenge, the sociologist, San Diego, Generation Me, talking about millennials, 85 million strong. Is Hillary Clinton losing the young vote, and is that exemplified by what we saw with the Black Lives Matter protesters?
Absolutely. You know, she is losing the young people in droves. I've been running these exit polls and looking at this data. In some cases, in some of these states, she's losing 70 to 30 to Bernie Sanders, 80 to 20. It is astronomical. By the same token, she's winning in almost the flip regard with elderly people. So it is a fascinating break. And as Liz mentioned, she's got a dilemma because she not only has to keep the black vote, she has to get them out to support her. And that can be a challenge when you look at this breakdown.
Okay, so in New York, Liz, is she able to do that? Won't most African-American New Yorkers remember that era, and don't older voters tend to show up more than younger voters, or is this a new ballgame?
It kind of depends who takes to the streets and gets black voters out, right? If they're young ones, it may be that Bernie Sanders has a much better shot in New York at winning a bigger percentage of that vote than he did down in the southern states. I think that's a very good possibility, but I think she'll still win the black vote.
Does Jeanne, does Bill Clinton help or hurt his wife on the campaign trail? I mean, for years, he was kind of like Ronald Reagan, Teflon, nothing. People loved him despite his flaws and character flaws. Is that changed?
You know, I think we have seen him hurt her on the campaign trail. We saw that famously in 2007, 2008, and I think he is brilliant. You know, you'd always want Bill Clinton on your side if you are running as a Democrat, certainly, and certainly he has the political brains and the political prowess. But it seems that when he gets in a position of defending his wife, he does sometimes walk this very difficult line, and he got very, very feisty yesterday when he was making this case.
He gets emotional, which is a kind of a nice thing,
people like
right?
That, but won't this resonate, though, with the majority of Democratic voters who are tired of protesters, not necessarily the issue, because the Black Lives Matter folks are bringing up a very serious issue. The incarceration rate has devastated African-American families, and children are growing up without a male figurehead. This is a real problem. But standing up to protesters who won't have discussion with people, doesn't he win points by saying, look, we can talk? And he did that. If you watch the entire thing, he says, I'll listen, but you won't listen to me.
Yeah, and by the way, Hillary Clinton's done that too, because they have disrupted her meetings and they've disrupted Bernie Sanders' meetings. So, yes, there may be some sympathy for someone who says, enough, let's talk about the facts of the case, because the facts of the case are that the black community wanted tougher law enforcement. And so you can run that back any way you want, but that's the fact.
So one last question for you, Jeanne. We get to November 8th. Let's assume Hillary Clinton does get the Democratic Party nomination. I know the experts say it's pretty much a clinch for her despite everything that's going on because of the superdelegates. But let's assume we get to November 8th. Do those young voters, black and white, who are Bernie supporters, show up enough to give her the victory, or does she lose because they won't vote for her?
I think it's a big question. I think some of the polls we've been seeing is that even a quarter of them today, Sanders' young supporters, are saying they will not support Hillary Clinton. So she's got her work cut out for her in trying to bring them to her side and get them out to the polls. That is going to be critical for her because, you know, depending on who she's running against, she has to get all of those Bernie supporters out there with her. And the numbers have been frustrating for her when it comes to young people, and that's where the momentum tends to be.
All right. Thank you both for being here, and thank you for being here as well. For complete coverage on the 2016 race, go to foxnews.com. I'm Adam Shapiro. Thank you for watching.